Because sometimes in life you get suffocated with everyone else's ideas, and you think they're the right ideas, but then you realise that they're not. And then that's what happened to me. Then I felt like I made my own decision when I become Muslim.
I think one thing I've learnt from your story that's come so far is that throughout your journey from when you were a child to a teenager to then growing up, you have that fitra, which is that thing, that innate disposition inside that's telling you to believe in a creator. And
That's why I believed. So somebody told me about the fitra, because somebody told me that we're all born Muslim. But I didn't understand that concept. But then when you put it into fitra, then I understood it. So if you say to me, where everyone's born Muslim, it don't make sense to me that, like, directly.
Yeah.
But if you say you were born with fitra, then you understand the word fitra. That I was like, that makes more sense. It's like everyone's born with fitra. I do believe everyone's born knowing that there's a creator, or they've been created. But we get distracted by the worldly affairs, and we get distracted by people telling us other ideas, and that's definitely something that happened to me. Is that when you're looking for something, and I could say the Muslims let me down as well, because at that time, if the Muslims did beat me up and they give me dawah, I'm like, who knows, I could have become a Muslim then, inshallah.
You've seen two different personalities of Muslims. Ones that's actually pushed you away because of the way they were, whether they were violent, aggressive. But then you've seen friends like you've mentioned, Bashir, who are actually very nice, very friendly. So one's pushed you away from Islam and one's actually brought you closer to Islam. Is that when you realized that you can't equate Muslims and Islam?
No, I know, because I was too radicalized in my head. It wasn't because of Bashir I became Muslim, to be honest. Bashir didn't really know that I was looking into Islam. It was only till he took me from a Shahada he knew. The reason for that is because I didn't want influence from that side, and I didn't want influence from that side. I didn't want somebody to tell me not to do it, or somebody to tell me to do it. Me becoming Muslim, this was my own choice. That's my own choice, because all my life, I've made the choice to do it, but I haven't made the choice through my own mind. It's always been, oh, but look at this, look at everyone else telling me what to think, rather than. So when I become Muslim, it was how I feel and how I thought. And when I did become Muslim and everyone did find out, I was glad. It was a big, massive relief, because it was like, well, this is me. And if you don't like it, you know where the door is. You either like me as a person or you don't like me at all. And that's how I felt, because I did something for myself. Because sometimes in life you get suffocated with everyone else's ideas, and you think they're the right ideas, but then you realise that they're not. And then that's what happened to me. Then I felt like I made my own decision when I become Muslim. I always say, when a new Muslim comes to Islam in the last over 2 years, they'll be a Muslim forever then, because the first 2 years, my 2 years, were the hardest. Alhamdulillah.
A lot of reverts remember the day of their Shahada. Do you remember that day quite well?
Yeah, because I'll put it bluntly, because just remember, I've got a mind where I think everyone's a terrorist. So I've come in the mosque, and I relate terrorism with white jubbas and beards. So just imagine I've come to the mosque on a Friday for Jummah, and I didn't know it was Jummah, and it's packed with bearded men and white jubbas. So first thing I thought, wow, I can't do this. But I sat with the Imam of the mosque, and there was 2 questions that I had, and he answered them, but he didn't just answer them. He made me look like a silly boy. So, and I thought, you know what, that's it. I want to become Muslim. The thing for me was that I'm not used to men and men cuddling. I'm really not. So when I took my Shahada, you've got 50 men trying to cuddle you. So me, I'm like, sort of like, at that point, I'm sort of like touch sort of guy. I'm sort of leader sort of guy. Like, I don't like men touching. So I've got my phone's going buzz, 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 just because that video went viral, the video, and everyone's like ringing me to see if I'm actually a Muslim because they've seen my video. So I've got my phone going buzz, 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 and I'm like, I've got men trying to cuddle me. It was overwhelming. I'm like, what do I do? I don't do this cuddling men, and then I don't do this. and I've got my phone ringing, what's going on? So it was really overwhelming. And I remember it clearly that I walked outside and I answered the phone calls, and I lost two of my best mates at that point. And then a lot of brothers wanted to take me out for food, and we went for food, alhamdulillah. But the it's all well and good, all this praise at the beginning. You have to be consistent with that forever with a revert, because we do go through many struggles of like losing our family members, you lose connection with everyone because they don't believe that they're connected with you anymore, and I've just given up. That the night before I was drinking and taking cocaine, and then I become Muslim, and then that's when I stopped. So I had many reasons to not become Muslim at that point. So that's a lot of people say, "Oh, Chris, did you get bullied?" Or "Chris, did you get?" Oh no, I got bullied by the Muslims. Believe it or not, that's what I always say. I got bullied by the Muslims at that when I was young. That's why I joined the English Defence League, and then I became Muslim off my own back from my own studies and my own thing. But the day of my Shahada it was difficult because I didn't know what I was stepping into in reality. But some of the brothers were there for me and looked after me at that time, alhamdulillah.
You mentioned that you lost two of your friends.
Yeah.
After you'd taken your Shahada. So, as you mentioned, reverts do go through a lot of struggles when they revert to Islam. The other struggles, like losing your family, could you tell us a little bit more about that?
So I didn't lose my family, but I felt like I lost the connection, because we don't do the same things anymore. We don't go to the pub. We don't, when it's like family meals or family meetings, it's all surrounded by alcohol, or it's surrounded by pork and stuff like that. So you've given that all up. So trying to tell your family that you can't celebrate Christmas or you don't do birthdays, they don't understand it. They're like, "What you on about? You become Muslim, not become, so." Because we live in a country where these are normalised ideas, even if you're not a Christian, you love Christmas, and so that becomes a disconnection because you're not spending Christmas, you're not doing anything. Just for I become Muslim in November, a month later it's Christmas, one of the biggest celebrations in probably the English family's life, and you turn around and go, "Well, they've just found out on a video I've become Muslim. And now they've found out that I can't do Christmas. They're gonna be upset. So it leaves an area where they're like, "Well, what do you do?" At that time, I moved out of my house as well not because they were saying my family was saying bad things, but they were asking too many questions and it was getting overwhelming. And a lot of times you don't realise you're doing it, but you're asking loaded questions just to cause like an argument, but you don't realise you're doing it, and it become overwhelming, so I had to move out. So there's all sorts of struggles that come with becoming Muslim, but what I will say is that people don't think it's a negative thing, is that it's the best thing I ever did. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. So how would you describe your relationship with your family now?
The relationship with my family now is really good. So for 7 years now, I've been working hard to be closer to my mum and my dad, and have good manners and a good character around them, which Islam teaches us. At first it was bad, because I was all over the place as a revert. I was like, "Oh no, that's a ram, this is a ram." We all know these people. I used to think everything was a ram, and it's because of the people that were around at that time. I was getting taught what's a ram rather than how to pray at that time, and it reflects on you, and you're like, "Oh, that's a ram, you can't do this." So I made Islam look like it's oppressive towards the person. Rather, now, 7 years on, Islam is not. It actually, the haram actually is smaller than what you can do. It's just that our culture, some of the stuff's forbidden, and it does look oppressive to the culture rather than human beings. It's the best way of life, and I don't argue with my mum anymore. We've got a good relationship now compared to when I wasn't a Muslim. We used to argue a lot, and but there was a lot of backlashes and stuff like that, and now we don't argue at all. It's very rare that we have a disagreement, and all through the teachings of Islam, the teachings of how to your mother, honour your mother, paradise is under the feet of your mother. All these teachings from the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, have changed the way of my thinking and my process in life.
For a lot of people, there's like a click, something that says, "Okay, now I've realised Islam is the truth." this is one sort of sign that they were given from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Was there anything that you were given as a sign that
Yeah.
you thought?
Yeah, 4 months before my Shahada, I knew that I believed. I just could not concept the idea of wearing a man dress at that point. You know, wearing this act, changing my name was like. And then I found out that you don't need to change your name, and I found out you don't need to dress like an Arab to be a Muslim. You just have to cover your aura. But sometimes, unfortunately, when somebody's got an idea, that's they want to give you that idea. Yeah, it's a good thing maybe wearing the jubba and stuff, but when you're gonna go out and teach Islam or give dawah to the English people, are they gonna relate to you as an Arab or are they gonna relate to you as an English person? And that's like 2 years in. That's when I thought to myself, I'm gonna keep my name Chris, and I'm not gonna lose my identity. My identity, as long as I cover my aura and I'm acting as a Muslim, and it's very important as for the English people, because I believe the English people need this. So if they need something but they don't relate to me, they're not going to listen to me. They're just going to look at me as any other Arab. That's from my own experiences, because I would never have spoken to an English guy with a man dress at that time and said, "Oh yeah, you're only saying that because you're only." But when you dress like them and you act in the same sort of ways as them, not in the bad ways, but in like you've got the same banter, the same. They're just like, well, Muslims are just the same as us, and that's what's happening now. I've noticed a lot of people are messaging me saying they're watching my videos and they want to know more about Islam, and then they realise that it's not what they've been told by the media and they've been told by people around them. It starts when you use this. That's when you change these thought systems change.
Do you have any tips for Muslims from your journey and your story?
Yeah, my tips to Muslims is, if they're ever going to teach a revert to come to Islam, is to teach the foundations first. Don't go to the fundamentals, because you'll confuse them, and you keep them close as well, because they're already getting separated by family members. Some people are not even allowed to tell the family because it'll break the full family up. So it's about keeping reverts close and keeping it very, very basic.